geometry Dynamesh. I just made a polymesh primitive here. So just by going into our primitive menu, I'm going to go ahead and grab just like a cube 3D, drag that out, go into edit mode, and then hit make polymesh 3D. And now this is a sculptable mesh. So of course I can go in here with my standard brush or my clay brush or whatever brush I want to use and just start sculpting on this thing. Morning everybody, thanks for showing up. We're doing some rock sculpting today because my friend Pablo Munoz gave us some free alpha brushes here. Let me make sure I can find his website here. Cool. Let's see, using quick tutorial. He's got tutorials and everything. Very neat. So, okay, we'll get those in just a second here. Okay, so we've got this here. Now, if I want to go ahead and just start, if I start sculpting on this right now, it's basically going to have some polarized edges, and it's not going to sculpt super nice. As I start subdividing, I can start subdividing up and sculpting as I want to. However, as soon as I go over here and start making huge changes, it's going to really start doing some crazy stuff to my geo. So I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and go over here to geometry, Dynamesh. Go ahead and turn that on. I'm going to turn off project. I'll leave project on sometimes if I'm doing just low resolution sculpts of like creature stuff, but I'm going to go ahead and turn that off for now. And I'm also going to turn blur down to 0. I don't need to blur down the rocks as every time I Dynamesh here. The resolution at 128 should be fine, but we can kind of play with that as we go. Since this is just a ZBrush primitive, it's set up so when you hit Dynamesh resolution of 128, you'll get a pretty healthy resolution. If you find that your brushes aren't as reactive as you'd like, of course you can feel free to like knock that number down and then re-Dynamesh. If for some reason it doesn't update your mesh, just go over here and just like touch it and then re-Dynamesh, and then it should work. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, it is working. It just didn't drop it as much as I thought. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, so thank you for the kind words here. Let's see if I can drop this thing down. Let's go to like 24 res here. There we go. So there's 24 res. That's a little bit low. So I'll bump this back up to like 136-ish, and that'll give us a healthy start resolution here. So as far as basic brushes go, whenever I'm doing rock stuff, whether it be the standard brush, the clay brush, or any of those basic brushes, what I like to do is just go into my alpha and choose alpha 28, which is a square alpha. So that way, as I'm brushing, it's kind of just going to a square. Now this is kind of a soft clay brush effect, so maybe not so useful, but what you can do is say like trim dynamic, throw a square alpha in there, and now as you're trimming, it'll kind of sharpen up that relief a little bit on the sides there, as well as if you're going to go in an H polish. Let's switch over to the H polish brush here. You can go through here and you can H polish with a square alpha, and that'll just kind of square up your edges a little bit, make them a little bit more contrasty. Now, trim dynamic and H polish, as you can see, isn't doing a really jagged job. So if you really wanted some really sharp rocks, a brush I really like to use is hit the comma key, go up here to brush, and we'll go to trim, QRS trim. There it is. And we're going to go to trim smooth border. And when you open that up, go ahead again and just drop a square alpha in there. And now as you're working, this thing will really, if you hold down Alt, it'll build up your surface. And if you let go of Alt, that'll really start just digging in there and chunking it up, which is great for rocks. It can sometimes be a little bit hard to control, but at the same time, it kind of, randomness isn't that bad of a thing when you're talking about natural sculptable objects and stuff. And of course, as you go, just continue to re-Dynamesh, control drag in your document, and that'll just kind of continue to update your mesh so you don't lose too much stuff here. So you can kind of go through and just start battering up your object like this, Dynameshing, and then if you want anything in particular, if you wanted to sculpt something out of here, let's go into our brush, insert BI, and we'll drag out, let's go into the IMM tune here and hit M. And we got anything, we got a whole body here. I was hoping for just a head. Let's go brush insert, and we'll go to the insert multi-mesh body parts here, and we'll drag out a head. So we're going to put a head right on here, and then we'll kind of shove that down, and we'll turn this as, you know what, let's just steal this part of her head here. I'm going to control drag again to Dynamesh this all together, and that'll go ahead and close up my holes here. If I want, I can also use any other brushes like inflate, or like I was saying before, clay with a square brush. If you're using clay tubes or clay buildup, it'll already have a square alpha in there, so you can use those as well to kind of start integrating some of that stuff there. Right now we're working on just rock tutorial stuff. Wonder Woman armor. I recently did some Marvel character armor not too long ago. If I get a chance this morning before I have to leave, I have to bring my car into the shop, so we'll see if we can get to that, but I can show you some armor creation techniques. It'll be pretty easy. Hey everybody, thanks for showing up. Yeah, Mr. Shot, I would probably end up doing, you know, masking, just like you said, mask and extract, or mask and delete hidden and polish polygrip borders, and you know, zero mesh and all that good stuff. In fact, we have gone over quite a bit of armor stuff. Let me see if I can find it here. So there's the YouTube, and here's my stream. So on this particular channel, all my VOD backups are in this playlist here. So if you go here, if you go there into the Twitch TV Pav mic, there's, if you go, you probably have to scroll back a little bit far, but there's a, you know, base mesh creation techniques and just making anatomy and building a body and then putting stuff on that. And then on the Pixelogic channel here as well, we've done a bit of that, but I'll see if I can go over some of that too. Cool, thanks for watching my tutorials. I hope they help. And let's see. Okay, so we kind of left off with just basic sculpting brushes here. And so we got clay tubes, clay buildup. Let's go into the mallet brush. So if we hit the comma key, we can go into brush and mallet. There's a mallet brush in here. We'll do mallet fast 2. And this one is similar to that clay buildup, clay tubes buildup we were doing. But it really is, that's actually more like the trim brush. So any of the trim brush stuff is usually pretty good, like the trim smooth border that we did, and then this mallet brush too. Let's switch over to the mallet fast here. This one, yeah, this one's a little bit more devastating. So the mallet fast 2 seems to respect the surfaces quite a bit. Mallet fast no number seems to really kind of dig in there. So trim smooth border, mallet, clay brush, trim dynamic, all with a square alpha, just so you can kind of go through there and start making that cool stuff. So you can really go in there and start chewing up these edges like so. And if you want a little bit more control, you can go in first with like a trim dynamic or a clay brush and just start, you know, wearing this stuff down like this. And then we'll go hit B key, and then all these new ones that we've loaded will be right down here at the bottom. And then we'll go back to the mallet fast and just kind of start chewing that stuff up.